Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Caw. I am delighted to be joined by Record Sports Ross Pilcher. Ross, how's it going?
Not bad, mate, not bad. It's very early in the season for the squad to be this stretched on Hotline Live. But
well, listen, Keith Jackson takes his holidays like Judith Chalmers. He wakes up, decides where he wants to go, and he just goes. So we're at the whim of a madman.
If he's not been in touch with you yet, he's saving it all up for when he's back, and you're going to get
it. I think you could be spot on, eh? But if for anyone watching, a couple of people mentioned yesterday, where is Keith? He's on his holidays, so good for him. But I would like to put on record my confidence and the fact we've got an upgrade pouch. So there you go. There's your vote of confidence. As we
very kind. Your words.
The probably best place for us to start, I reckon, is Rangers. Huge night for them tomorrow night. Champions League night. And I know this sounds really kind of counterintuitive. Because everyone's talking up Club Brugge, I kind of think Rangers might get a result tomorrow night.
They could. It's got that feeling about it to a lesser extent before Panathinaikos. Everyone thought, well, it's going to be tough. They'll do well to get through two legs. And Panathinaikos, all right, they put them under a bit of pressure at the start of the both legs, really. But Rangers kind of withered it and looked to have a bit more about them going forward. And in the end, it was pretty comfortable in terms of scoreline. I think Club Brugge will be a big step up, though. We saw them against Celtic last season. They did look very, very good. I know they had the friendly at Ibrox earlier in just before pre-season, actually, Russell Martin's first game in charge, and it looked like it could get a bit nasty for Rangers, but they came back second half.
Aye.
But it's going to need a much better performance than we've seen from them so far. So if Club Brugge are at it, this is a serious step up. But Rangers have, they've done it time and again in Europe when they haven't been fancied. Although that is mostly Europa League, and this is for the big one. So they're going to have to be right on it tomorrow and in Belgium next week.
Singing the Blues in the comment section points out Club Brugge are a really good side, and a couple other comments that we'll come to throughout the show. And Petey here says the problems are getting worse. I fear what Bruges could do to us. The thing is, I get all that, right? And look, if you put a gun to my head, I think Bruges are a better team than Rangers at the minute. I thought Celtic were quite lucky to get a draw against Bruges last season. I was really impressed by them at Parkhead. But I don't know, there's something about Rangers in Europe that just, I don't know, like, this sums it up quite well. Alistair says, I honestly think folk have overlooked us a bit ahead of tomorrow night. I'm going 3-1 Rangers. I know they're a good team, but it's Club Brugge, for God's sake, not Real Madrid. That could be famous last words from Alistair. But I don't know, they're just so different in Europe, Rangers.
Yeah, they are. They seem to be more suited to it. I get what Alistair's saying. It is not, the cream of the European crop here, but it's still a very, very good side. I don't know. We've seen it under a couple of managers now that Rangers will have a game plan for Europe that works, and they seem to come alive. And then domestically, they just look way off it. I was so against Al at the weekend. I know you're saying that kind of goes the other way. Okay, it's Club Brugge, it's not Real Madrid, but the weekend was Alloa, and they still made Rangers look a bit ordinary at times.
They did.
I get Russell Martin made about 10 changes, and it's going to be entirely different circumstances tomorrow. But I absolutely would not write Rangers off, but we're going to have to see a lot better for them, and they're going to have to, as always, you're going to need a bit of luck as well. But if it's, if it's still all to play for going to the second leg. I mean, you saw last season Barry Ferguson came in, they went away and beat Fenerbahce, and there's no reason why they can't go and beat Club Brugge, but I would be surprised if
they did.
If they went through. Well, surprises. I would be more surprised if Rangers went through than Celtic did, put it that way.
Aye, that's a fair point. We've got tons of comments coming in already. If you want to get involved in the discussion, please do so. Hit us with your comments. We'll try and read them out. Mo says Keith's on a jet to holiday, and he says Keith will be prancing about like that Ibiza final boss. We can confirm he is actually doing that right now. And Luke Skywalker says, what's this about Leo trying to get Hamza? We will touch on transfers later on in the show as well, and I think we will talk about Hamza Igaman. We've got a chat with Record Sports transfer guru Burnsy on the way. Scott Burns, forgot his first name. Just so used to calling him Burnsy.
It's actually the certificate, I'm told.
It probably is. We'll come to that a little bit later on. For now, I caught up with Record Sports Andy Newport after the Rangers press conference today, and let's hear what he had to say. Joined now from Ibrox by the one and only Andy Newport. Andy, Russell Martin's been talking today ahead of the Club Brugge first leg. Was he in good form?
Yeah, very. Yeah, he seemed to try to paint a kind of different mindset picture. Also ahead of the game, obviously we know with the starting start that the team has had this season. You've heard it here with the Dundee game, and even at times on Saturday against Alloa, there's been some groans, some grumbles, and I think he has sensed that tension has sort of seeped into his players. I think he was obviously keen to try and encourage them to sort of. I think he was speaking about find the joy again of playing here, of sensing the opportunity that they have. Obviously, 180 minutes away from potentially securing a place in the Champions League, £40 million windfall. So he was keen to try and press home that, yeah, okay, it's not been the greatest start, but there's so much still for this club, this team to achieve. And yeah, if they can find that, if they can just relax the shoulders a wee bit, and if they can find their best form, that this could still be a fantastic start to the season. Obviously, he's not blind to the fact that there's big improvements needed, but he's still confident that it can happen. So yeah, that was his main message. And obviously, in the more newsy sense, he was quick to quash some of these how should we say, wild rumours that have been spreading online in the last few days about Nico Raskin. Not entirely sure where they came from, but suggested he's handed in a transfer request. Well, Russell Martin was quick to shoot that down, said he's not been told that at all. On the team front, obviously, Jayden McComa signed for Brentford over the weekend. They're confident he's going to be in the team, certainly available, get international clearance for them. The only sweat that they've got is on Cyril Dessers. Obviously picked up that ankle knee knock. Not quite sure exactly what it was he injured, but he went down awkwardly in Pilsen last week. But they're confident he's certainly got a chance of being fit for tomorrow, having sat out the weekend.
You and I spoke on last night's Hotline Live, Andy, about the importance of Hamza Igaman. Did Russell Martin give any clue as to whether or not he can start the game tomorrow?
No, he wasn't. His name wasn't mentioned. Although it's interesting in the last few minutes, just see some reports that Lille have been back in touch with another offer, a verbal offer, according to reports from Europe, that has been rejected. Club aren't saying anything on that at the moment. They don't tend to comment on transfer speculation generally, but listen, I think as we discussed, that for me, I think he's Rangers. How should we say? Perhaps in terms of how they play in the build-up play, I think he's Rangers' best option there. I think Cyril Dessers would argue that he's maybe got a better eye for goal, but I think right now, in terms of how Rangers, the struggles Rangers have, is creating chances and maintaining possession. And for me, I think Hamza Bigamani's get that wee bit X factor that would certainly be a welcome addition to this team. Fitness wise, he's maybe just a wee bit short for tomorrow night, so the hope would be that I think Rangers can get a result tomorrow night that keeps them in the tie going over to Bruges next week. And
you mentioned Raskin, obviously, and I know he's been in and out a little bit under Russell Martin. Do we think he'll start tomorrow night?
Yeah, he said that. He said he would be starting. I think he's been really impressed by the way he's responded to being dropped for that Pilsen first leg here a couple of weeks ago. He's been impressed by the attitude. They've had a couple of chats. They've went through a few tactical pieces, and Russell Martin's a huge fan of him. I think he's been, he's obviously had to sit him down at games over the summer. A lot of transfer speculation around about Nico Raskin, but I think he's liked the way that he's refocused and is come back determined to play a part for this team. So yeah, I think you can put your mortgage in him being in the starting lineup for tomorrow.
This is a bit weird of a question, Andy, because I tried to pose this to Keith Jackson and he looked at me like I was a bit mad a couple of weeks ago. But I'm not articulate enough to say this properly. Do Rangers fans really want to get to the Champions League? And the reason why I say that is because obviously they want to get there. They want, the money would be a game changer and playing, the biggest competition. But this Rangers team rebuild's been talked about a lot. I don't know. It could be a too big a jump too soon, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I mean, there's always this sort of feel that the Europa League's a much more natural fit for Rangers. They've certainly enjoyed some terrific nights in that competition in the last few years. But I think you're correct. I think there's a lot of scar tissue still hanging about from the last time the team reached the Champions League in 2022. Obviously they get basically hammered in all 6 games, went out with, I think it was only 1 goal they scored, wasn't it, Scott Arfield here against Liverpool?
I think you're right, aye.
So, I mean, I can understand there'd be some trepidation. But I think tomorrow night will tell you a lot. This is a Bruce team that were terrific in the Champions League phase last year, reached the last 16. We saw them against Celtic and they looked really, really sharp. I think they got a draw at Parkhead. So, listen, I think if Rangers can compete, if they can live with a team of that quality tomorrow, then maybe some of those, fears are dispelled to an extent. But if they struggle, then maybe there won't be too many that'll be disappointed if they miss out on that. Listen, I think from the club point of view, from the finance people here, listen, £40 million is not to be sniffed at, and just the fact that if Celtic were to get through, that would be them, potentially, you make about 17-18 million pounds for qualifying for the Europa League compared to £40 million, as I say, for the Champions League. I think Rangers need to be, get ambitions to build something and to supercharge this new regime. I think they have to be aiming high. They need that money to get them to the level that they want to be. But listen, it's a huge task. As I say, Club Brugge are a fantastic side. They've been regulars in the latter stages of Europe for quite a number of years now. So if Rangers can get a result tonight, I think that would be a promising sign. But I think it is going to be a tough one.
Well, before I let you go then, Andy, predictions. How do you think Rangers will fare at Ibrox tomorrow night in the first leg?
Prediction. I went 1-1 in the paper. I think Rangers can. I think with the Ibrox crowd behind them, I think they can raise their games. I think they always do raise their games here. I think their 2 best performances of the season here have been against Panathinaikos and Pilsen. I think with a wee bit extra space with the opposition coming out to play, I think that's when you see a wee bit more of the fluency come into this Rangers team. But whether or not that's going to be enough for them to get through next week, that remains to be seen. But I see them getting a score draw here tonight.
Andy, thank you so much for joining us on Hotline Live. As ever, massively appreciated, and safe travel up the road.
Thanks, pal.
Cheers, Andy.
No worries.
Right, a few things, Ross, I need to get straight with the after that. There was a mysterious sort of, I don't even know what to say, it was a mysterious sound throughout that recording there with Andy. The simple answer is I've no idea what was going on with that. A few people in the comments have obviously picked up on it. Beautiful Kim says, who's farting? John says, didn't realise Andy had colitis. Listen, I can confirm when we recorded it, that was not there. So apologies for anyone listening if that was quite annoying. JM as well, saying someone doing a pig impression. And also, Jan in the comments says, your beards are just horrible. Thanks very much, Jan. I really appreciate that. I think she was meaning me and Andy. So nice one. We'll pass that on, Jan. We can actually hear now, Ross, from Russell Martin. We might as well do that before we get stuck in our predictions. Let's hope. Let's hope there's no one doing a pig noise underneath him as well. Here's what he had to say earlier today.
Well, I think it's looking at the fundamentals first. Enjoy the horrible part of the game. So enjoy competing, enjoy fighting, enjoy looking around, knowing that your mate's going to do his job properly at their set piece. Enjoy having clarity in what you're being asked to do on the pitch. You haven't got to make it up. So enjoy that, stepping onto the pitch. Enjoy the moment of playing in front of 52,000. It's not easy. It's not easy. As a footballer, it's sometimes really difficult. Our job is to give them enough clarity that they know exactly what they're doing, with and without the ball. And then the moments of enjoyment come from giving it absolutely everything you've got and celebrating even the small moments together. If someone does their job, let them know, and look after each other a bit more. And everyone enjoys winning, of course, so that has to be the first focus. It's not going to be, we enjoyed it, no one enjoys losing. But I'm just talking about enjoy stepping foot in the building every day when you play for this football club now, and how much it means to so many people. So I had a lot of people message me who read message boards and stuff who are concerned about me. They just don't have to be. So I keep telling my mum, don't worry about it, it's all good. I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I appreciate the honour of managing this club every day and the gratitude I feel for that. So let's have that in the building. I said to the staff as well, like, so many of them support the club, but I think they've lost a bit of joy of being here and working here. So let's get back to that. Let's understand how big this is and how brilliant it could be, and focus on what we can control, and that is playing with so much energy tomorrow and really feeding off it.
Can you give us some clarity on Nicholas Raskin? Is he in the squad? Is he in the right mindset now? And put a lot of speculation aside, you're happy with where he's at?
Yeah, I think he's got better and better. I think he'll get better and better. He was only on the squad on Saturday for a rest. He picked up a kick on Tuesday, but he's trained really well. And I think he's going to be a big player for us. I said that from the beginning. I also said obviously it's been a difficult summer for him and all that, but the last few weeks I've loved the energy that Nico's brought, and he's going to be really important for us, and he will play tomorrow and he'll be a big player for us.
There was some reports at the weekend that he had asked to leave the club. Can you squash those reports and rumours?
Yeah, no, he's been really good. So we analysed these clips, we him together from Tuesday. So yeah, no, I've not heard anything, not at all. So he's been brilliant, and I'm pretty sure Kevin and Patrick in the game would have told me if we had heard that. So no.
Cal, Russell, when you arrived at the club a couple of months ago, I'm sure you would have come into it with your eyes open, and you would have known it was going to be a fairly significant rebuild. I just wonder, with regards to Champions League football, if you can secure that, how would that help accelerate the development of the team?
Well, I think the belief it would give the players, I think, would be massive. I think financially, obviously, what it would do for the football club would be huge. So I think if we were able to do it, which I really believe we are, if we can do it and qualify for it, I think it'd be brilliant. I think, like someone asked me, if we've got the squad depth and all that to sustain it, I don't think we need to worry about it. I think let's try and get in there first, and then we're building a squad that has to compete in Europe, whether it's the Europa League or the Champions League. So I think it would be incredibly exciting. It would help us a lot as a football club moving forward, and not just financially or that, but what it would do for the players and their belief, and to then pick yourself against some of the best teams in the world would be brilliant, a brilliant opportunity for us. So we're here to try and attack it as much as we can.
Russell, just a supplementary to that, what would it mean to you from a personal point of view if you were to take Rangers to the Champions League proper for the first time of asking?
Well, yeah, it'd be a massive achievement for all of us, but it's not about me, it's not about any individual player, it's genuinely about what's best for the club and how exciting that would be for all of us. So
thankfully, Russell Martin sounded a bit clearer there, Ross. That's good. Let me run through a couple of the comments that are coming in on the comment section. If you want to get involved with your predictions for tomorrow night, please do so. Singing the Blues says Rangers could beat Brugge at Ibrox, but away in Belgium might be a step too far. Mo simply says Brugge will pummel Rangers. John says Rangers need to win by 3 clear goals to have any chance. They nearly blew a 3-0 lead in the second leg against Pilsen. Bruges are a huge step up. And Rangers Easy OK, who are a regular on the show and often cuts to the quick of any point. I genuinely think we'll win tomorrow and then struggle in Paisley on Sunday. And do you know, I think Rangers Easy OK summed up their approach. I could see Rangers winning 2-1 tomorrow night or something and then getting beat 1-0 at the weekend. Yeah,
no one would be shocked. That's, you said, it's been the way of it with Rangers for the last kind of couple of years, and you look at the domestic results this season, you look at how St Mirren have been playing good result the weekend. They're a really difficult team to play against. It's probably the last fixture you want in between, 2 Champions League playoff legs, and of course we thought they were postponing it, they're now not postponing it, which kind of means they have to now go and win it. So it's such a big week, and as you said, yeah, it would be very, very Rangers to go and beat Bruges at Ibrox and then they come a cropper in Paisley.
We Jimmy in the comments is asking us what we think the score will be. I think Rangers will win tomorrow night. I think they'll win 2-1. I'm not convinced they'll get through the tie. But look, I mean, there's a couple of comments in the saying Rangers are going to get pummeled. This will be a wake-up call. Look, and I can't deny any of that. They're right, but Rangers so many times last season just surprised. There's so many games where I thought Rangers are going to get so run tonight. And they just turned up and did it. So, for that reason, I'll go 2-1. What's your thoughts, Pilch?
Maybe a 2-2. I think both teams will score. We've seen the Rangers so far this season. Whatever Russell Martin's trying to do defensively, it's not quite there. He's been big in signing, trying to bring in centre-backs. He doesn't quite know what his best full-back combination is, but at the same time, Rangers can score goals as well. And I think what you need to remember is Rangers aren't going into this they're probably not approaching it like a run-of-the-mill domestic game, certainly not a Premier Sports Cup game against Alloa. It's, the occasion that seems to do something to Rangers. The fans are there. I don't want to use the cliche under the lights, but there's just something about the European nights that seems to awaken something in Rangers. And as you say, they tend to turn up. So that's going to take that to get a decent result tomorrow. So yeah, I think a 2-2 wouldn't surprise me.
Singing the blues, as you say, as you can see on your screen, going on last season, beating St Mirren would be an achievement. Scott says it'll be 2 each at best. And Luke Skywalker says 3-1 Rangers. Look, I could be mad, but I do fancy Rangers to get a win tomorrow night. A slim win. I doubt they'll get by Bruges over 2 legs, but listen, stranger things have happened, Ross. We mentioned beforehand about Hamza Igaman. And there's a story on Record Sport Online just now about Lille making an offer for him. Now, I had a little chat earlier on today with our transfer guru, Scott Burns. He mentions the Rangers striker and his future. Let's hear what he had to say. I'm joined on the hotline live now by our in-house guru, our transfer wizard, the one and only Scott Burns. Burnsy, how's it going?
I'm certainly in the house.
This is your time of year. This is like when Santa Claus in December.
And I've got a big transfer exclusive to start with that my broadband provider has provided a new box, so hopefully it won't offer as much.
Well, fingers crossed. That was like the kind of running joke. Are you getting Burnsy on? He's got his 2 cans and the string ready.
Don't blame me, it's the neighbours. If they'd upgraded in the first place, they'd have been all right.
If they'd paid their bill.
They'd paid their bill, yeah, and allowed me the decent password.
On tonight's show, Andy, we're talking a lot about Rangers clashing with Club Brugge. Obviously, a huge game for them this week. One man that we expect to be involved in the tie now is Hamza Igaman. What's your latest information on his future?
I thought he'll definitely be involved in this tie this week, and I presume the return. But I think I'd be very surprised if he's still a Rangers player. I think by the time the group stages come along, whatever competition Rangers are in, I think Rangers are playing him tomorrow. They're aware of the strong interest from Lille. It's never gone away. They've batted it. They've done stuff in the background. They've agreed a deal with the player, but they've never actually gone to Rangers with an acceptable offer. But I expect them to ramp that up and to try and get a deal done. Whether they can get to the figures Rangers want is another story, but I think if they get a decent bid, that the likelihood is that Rangers will take it and allow Russell Martin to bring in his own striker.
Do we have an idea, Burnsy, of what that acceptable figure would be?
I don't.
Putting you in the spot.
What would it be? There was talk of earlier in the summer, wasn't there? It was double figures, wasn't it? In terms of millions, wasn't it?
Aye.
I think if you get £7 million plus big add-ons, I think that is a good deal. And it also allows Rangers to go and reinvest and bring in a replacement who probably has similar, if not more, resale value sort of thing. So I think that is a decent level. I'm not sure if Lille, in fact, I don't think Lille will get to the double figures, but certainly if you get to double figures, at that point you've got to snap the hand off, haven't you? Considering the Rangers only bought him just over a year ago for, what was it, £1.5 million?
And when you think Burnsy, he barely played up till Christmas as well.
No. But it just goes to show that a lot of modern day football is driven by stats yet again.
Aye.
I mean, you look at the Jeffrey deal, they're going to get £6 million from Palmeiras. Have you seen Jeffrey play for Rangers? I mean, would you have thought they'd have got £6 million from him?
No chance.
So that's, clubs have moved away from the fact that they're watching players like in the flesh. Obviously, there's a bit of that, but a lot of it's stats driven, and that's where you're seeing a lot of these transfers. And I think that Hamza Igamani he's obviously got talent, but this is another transfer that's been driven by the stats rather than maybe the naked eye.
The other sort of big transfer news today is that Aberdeen, Burnsy, have completed the signing of Marco Lazetic from AC Milan. Aberdeen signing an AC Milan striker is not a sentence that I had in my bingo card for this transfer window. I know it's a free transfer for Aberdeen, but still a big signing. But I'm right in saying you think there could be more incomings at Pittodrie?
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's the Kenan Bilic, the Norwegian winger, has also come in. So I think Aberdeen are hoping that it's a bit of a long shot. They can get clearance for one or if not two of these players to announce as wildcards before the Europa League playoff with the FSSB, formerly Steaua Bucharest. But yep, they will be still active in the window, and my understanding is that Jimmy Tan still has got substantial funds to spend, and I'm told that the two key areas are a midfielder and another striker. And I'm told, and I think that maybe on some platforms there's been word that obviously, they've obviously got their own targets, but I think they've also put word out on a transfer room that they were willing to pay a significant fee for a midfield player. So clearly Aberdeen are not finished yet, and I mean they've been quite ambitious with some of their signings so far. It's whether these two are the final two that maybe gel them into a team where they can make an impact both domestically and in the group stages of European football is the key. But certainly I would think a midfielder who's different to what they've got would be certainly a big thing for them for this season.
And we mentioned Rangers, Burnsy. I mean, Celtic fans, I think a lot of them are pulling their hair out at the minute. Not even just the lack of movement in the transfer window, but I don't know what you think. I think it's just been weird, the lack of links to players. It's almost like we're into the business end of the window. I mean, Calvin Stengs at Feyenoord is the one that's mentioned today, and of course Jamie Vardy as well. But aside from that, it's pretty quiet for Celtic.
It's pretty quiet, and it's probably too quiet. And as I said when I was on with Keith last week, that there just seems something's not right there at Celtic as it stands. I mean, I think obviously the Celtic scouting team have put names forward. Brendan Rodgers has maybe got his own ideas in players, and they've probably not been able to meet in the middle, or certainly the players that they want. They've not actually met the valuations of players, so it's a very strange one. And as I said, I think it maybe, I mean, as I said, alluded to last week as well, I think a bit of that goes down to, do they want to push the button on big money transfers that maybe Brendan's putting forward if he's not going to be here this time next season? So that's the issue, but it's still alarming for me that Celtic haven't brought in more ahead of this vital playoff. You know what I mean? And it's two massive games. And if they get the Champions League, it's brilliant. If they don't, then it's costly in itself, isn't it?
Sure,
but they've still got time for a wild card, haven't they? So a curveball could finally come in. I mean, there's a number of players on the radar, but it's a case of whether Celtic push the button and push the transfer fees up to what they've bid already. So,
what's your gut feeling, Burnsy? Do you think it's 2 weeks today the transfer window closes? Is your gut feeling that they will still spend significantly, or is it a bit late now?
I mean, there is money there, and as I keep saying, that if the right move's there, they would be willing to break the transfer record. But it's just very uneven. I'm not convinced just now that they would do it unless there's a bit of clarity over what happens, whether Brendan's going to commit beyond the summer, or it's a player that they think, regardless of what's going to happen, is going to add real value. I suspect there might be some signings. Money will be spent. Not sure if it'll be record transfers. I think there might be a few loans in there as well, just to get Celtic through over the short term.
Is there any other little SPFL transfer tidbits you want to leave us with, Burnsy? Anything else in your big sack of transfers? I should probably have thought about that wording before I said it, but there you go.
I'm probably more likely to get the sack, I think, in that. There's quite a, there's obviously, even Celtic fans are complaining, but just in terms of the transfer market in general, there's not a lot going on. Obviously, Murrow have gone out today and they've signed Callum Henry, but they're out with that. I know Dundee are still active in the transfer market. One player they're interested in is the young Celtic defender, Colby Donovan, the right back. I know that Dundee have held talks with Celtic over that move. That would be a loan, so I'd be interested to see if that comes off. But I also know that the former Celtic captain, Scott Brown, is also keen to take him to Ayr United as well. So it'd be interesting to see if young Donovan ends up in the Premiership or the Championship. But other than that, there's still clubs. Dundee United are still looking for another striker. midfielder. Livingston, I believe, are still looking for a right back. So there's still bits of business to be done, but as it stands just now, it's still relatively quiet.
I think we could be in for hopefully a blockbuster final 2 weeks to the window. And if that's the case, I will definitely be pestering you to get you back in the Hotline Live, Burnsy. But thanks so much for joining us today. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having us. All the best. Good luck.
Cheers, Burnsy. Scott Burns there, pouching his big sack of transfer news. I really should have thought about how I worded that. There's a lot to unpack there, right? But first, Hamza Igaman, Ali in the comments says Igaman is worth more than any other player in Scotland. Burnsy put it at, what did he say, £6-7 million? I remember early in the summer on Hotline Live, Andy Newport said that he thinks Rangers will be holding out for more as much as €15 million. I mean, how do you see his value?
Well, I suppose that's with any transfer. You're worth what someone's willing to pay for you. He is young. He's got potential. Rangers obviously feel he has a high ceiling. I think Leo feel that way. And he's contracted till 2029. So Rangers don't have to sell him. It's not as if his value's going to start depreciating. You've probably got another couple of years before that happens. It might be worth playing the long game for Rangers. You need to also bear in mind that Russell Martin's other strikers are Cyril Dessers, who has done it for them, and Danilo, who he's given a chance at the start of the season and he's struggled. If Igaman is up to spec in terms of fitness and he comes in, I could see him being the main man for Martin if he wants to stay. That's also what comes into it. We don't know what Hamza Igaman said to Rangers behind the scenes. He might be thinking, right, this is my chance. I want to go to France, and it now might be a case of, well, what can we get? But Rangers are in a pretty strong position. I think reports claimed that Lille offered to take him on loan, which is just not going to happen. That's I don't know if that's meant them playing games a little bit. Right, we'll put an offer in, see how that affects him, and then we'll come back and see where we are maybe in a few days or a week's time. It might also be the case that if Rangers don't make the Champions League, it might be more likely that he goes.
Yeah.
But as I said, they're in a strong position, and if they don't get anything close to what they're looking for, he's a player worth keeping.
I completely agree with you. And Andy touched on it earlier a little bit. I think everything being equal, everyone fit and firing, Igaman's probably the most talented striker. I mean, I know it's difficult because Dessers scores so many goals, and I know Igaman isn't an out-and-out striker, if you know what I mean. But I guess what I'm getting at is I don't think Rangers want to sell him in the cheap, and I'm sure they won't, but.
And then you also need to look at how much time are they realistically going to have to replace him properly.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's a weird one that Burnsy obviously said he'll be surprised if he's still a Rangers player. So, I mean, if the transfer guru says it, then it's probably likely to happen. But I guess we'll see, and we'll be covering it on Record Sport. On to Celtic though. John says higher quality players won't want to come to Celtic unless Champions League football is guaranteed. And he says that off the back of the story we've got online on Record Sport about Jamie Vardy apparently being desperate to sign for Celtic. He turns 39 in January. I don't know what you think, Pouch. I think he's a good player. I think he could do well for a season or two. But if Celtic really, at the end of the transfer window, are having to phone Jamie Vardy, something's gone wrong.
Yeah, I think Jamie Vardy's worth a year if he's not the only guy you're signing.
Aye, well put, aye.
Listen, you've seen what he's done down south. He's coming to the end of his career. Is he good enough to still cut it up here? I think so. I think he's a type of character that would thrive playing in Glasgow in particular. Don't know if he'll get served many these blue wickets. Is that what he likes?
Red. He's a half Red Bull, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but funnily enough, I actually think in terms of Celtic playing, if they do get in the Champions League, playing away from home, you see he likes to run in behind. Okay, he's going to be 39 in January, but he's not lost a load of pace. He's still quick. And if you look at how Celtic play domestically, is he going to get that? You know, is it going to suit him? A lot of teams will come in, they'll play in the low block as it is these days, and Celtic need to break them down. Okay, we've seen Jamie Vardy score all types of goals, but it could be a very useful option to have, you know, in certain games away from home when you need the game's a bit stretched and you need to get in behind, and we know he's a finisher. He would score goals in Scotland. He'd worth a year as a backup if the money's right, but I agree with you. If you're a Celtic fan and you're getting to deadline day and Jamie Vardy's the one, then you're going to be asking questions.
Aye, and look, I mean, Scott in the comments says Vardy's still quick, but he's getting on a bit. Obviously, he'd score plenty of goals. Also, Carol writes in, he's a lot less happy. He says Celtic end up saying Vardy, it's an absolute disgrace. Months and months and months to scout a suitable striker, and we wind up with Jamie Vardy. He turns 39 in January. But I do agree with you, Paul. See his personality. I think he's got like an away winner at Ibrox and jumping into the crowds written all over him. Like, I think he would love it up here. And I do think he'd be decent for a season, but it just beggars belief a little bit, this transfer window for Celtic. It's been so peculiar, really weird.
He'd be good value for us, I tell you that. I'd be all for him up here for a year.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head there. The other name that Celtic have been linked with is Calvin Stengs, the Feyenoord winger. This is a weird one as well because he struggled with a bad injury. I understand there he is playing against Celtic. Scored against Celtic a couple of seasons ago in the Champions League for Feyenoord. But he's 26, almost 27, so he doesn't really fit into that kind of young player mould. He's a Netherlands international, but he only managed 12 appearances in the league for Feyenoord last season. And from what we understand, I think the rumoured asking price is around €15 million, £13 million. I don't know if Celtic are going to pay that for a player who's kind of, like I say, on the verge of, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It just doesn't really fit their profile, I guess.
I get that, but then I suppose from Celtic's point of view, especially from the fans' point of view, not everyone can be a project player. Not everyone can be signed to sell further down the line. You do need players for now, and that's kind of been the complaint at Celtic. Maybe the last couple of windows, they're signing potential. They're signing guys who they're going to. That's Brendan Rodgers' thing is getting players, improving them, and then they move up the levels. Whether that's with Celtic, whether that's getting a big move and going down south or abroad. But you do need guys who are coming in and are ready. As you said, the price is there. Given he's clearly got a bit of pedigree. I mean, you're not a dud if you're playing at Feyenoord regularly. Good age. Reading between the lines, it wouldn't surprise me if this was maybe with a view to a loan deal. Feyenoord maybe say, right, he hasn't played a lot, he's had a bad injury. Let's get him out playing at a good level, get him back up, and then we'll bring him back next year and see how he goes. Celtic might be looking at, well, look at his injury record. Again, we like his pedigree, good age. If he comes in and hits the ground running, we've got him on loan. Might be the case that there's an option to buy for a bit less than that, depending on how the loan goes. So, and if that was, the thinking, it would maybe make a bit of sense.
The other name that Burnsy touched on there, Pilch, was Marko Lazetic, who has signed for Aberdeen. As I say, it's a free transfer, but it's still a big deal for Aberdeen. You are often on the kind of Edinburgh beat for Record Sport, Hearts and Hibs. Where do you see Aberdeen in the race for second place? Not second place, for third place this season. Could be second place, I guess. But in that race to be the best of the rest, would you put Aberdeen ahead of Hearts or behind Hearts or Hibs? How do you see it?
It depends how they cope. I mean, we saw it with Hearts before. We've seen it with Aberdeen before. How you cope with that schedule? I think Jamie Tellene is maybe trying to load up, bulk out his squad, so he's got the players to do it. But it is very difficult if you're chopping and changing Thursday to Sunday, having to get yourself up for it again. Based on that and the fact that they went on a horrible run last season. They were brilliantly consistent for about the first few months, and then horribly consistent for the last few months, and then obviously they came good just in time at the end. But it depends how they deal with Europe. They might get a horrible draw, and it's if they're taking some heavy defeats, that's going to affect your confidence, going to affect morale. It all depends on that. And same with Hibs. We've got a two-legged tie against Legia Warsaw this week. First leg this week. If they go through, I think Hibs are a bit lighter in terms of numbers than Aberdeen. To be honest, I think Aberdeen winning the cup through them, and they maybe weren't expecting to have the chance of going to the Conference League group stages, given the draws they've had. So David Gray might have to get busy if they do go through, and they're also having to juggle that. So, and based on that, I think it's going to be those three fighting it out, unless Aberdeen have another horrible run. I would say Hearts are probably the best equipped in terms of the manager they've got in terms of the players they've brought in, and in terms of not having that heavy schedule, which they've lightened further by going out the League Cup on Saturday. So maybe it's all a positive.
I know they've added significantly this summer, Pilch, but do you think Hearts will bring many more in before the window shuts?
Not many more.
No.
Derek McInnes, what he wants to get the squad down. I think they have too many players, which I think isn't helping in terms of him working out his best team and his best system.
Aye.
Might still bring in a right back. I know they brought Adam Forrester back from his loan at St Johnstone. I think hopefully they're hopeful that Christian Borchgrevink will be back a bit quicker than expected, and Forrester might go out. They might still look for another right back, and the goalkeeper might be an interesting one.
Aye.
Gordon is, I think it's a shoulder nerve injury he's been struggling with, and it's kind of slow going. You saw him come back for his testimonial for a minute and back off again. Even aside from that, Craig Gordon, was it 42 at the end of the year?
At the end of the year,
I think this will be his last season, and you're going to have to plan for beyond that. Xander Clark, honestly, didn't look great at Tannadice. I was a wee bit harsh. I saw him getting dug out a bit for not saving St Mirren's first penalty on Saturday. He kind of dived over it.
Aye.
It's always harsh. You can't really say, he should have saved it. He's
Nah,
not good. But you've got young Harry Stone as backup, and Ryan Fulton. If I'm not an opportunity to get a proven number one comes in, I think Derek McInnes might take it. But if not, I think they'll be happy enough to go with Xander Clark. But if they are going to bring in it, I think it would be either a right back or a goalkeeper. But it's more about getting bodies out the door for Hearts, I think.
Aye. Well, time will tell, I guess, and we'll be here to cover it all on Record Sport Online and the Hotline Live. But for now, I think that brings us to the end of tonight's show. Pilch, it's always a pleasure having you on. Much appreciated.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Thank you very much for all the comments as well. We
Aside from the weird one, I'm still reeling at that.
I know. I listened.
Could do with a trim, but it's not that bad.
I was going to. Do you think I should ban Jan? Nah, we'll leave it. We'll give it another chance.
Don't ban Jan.
But no, thanks for all the comments except from Jan's on our beards. We really appreciate it. If you want to get involved in the conversation, we'll be back to do it all at 6. Oh no, actually, we're coming back late tomorrow night. I'm all over the shop. We're late tomorrow night after the game at 10 p.m. For the fallout from Rangers versus Bruges. So we definitely hope you can join us then. Pilch, again, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks.
And thanks for watching at home. Cheers.